Farlost, created by John Miro. 25. Lou didn't gasp. She clamped her jaw shut and squeezed the restraints across her chest until she couldn't feel her fingers, but she didn't cry out. After that first glimpse at those stars and alien ships, thousands of them, she'd crawled back to her command station. She was running away from the images, back to the only safe place she knew. Her brain wasn't keeping up. She needed to get a handle on so much change. Some small part of her remembered to look cool on the outside for the sake of the crew. Once strapped in, she had to talk to herself before she could make her fingers move. They now trembled inches away from the Hascom Corporation logo on her screens, back in sleep mode after she'd left the chair. "What the fuck?" Beecham breathed. "What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck?" "What did we say about profanity, Dr. Beecham?" Lou said automatically through her daze. She watched him flip his gaze between screens. She saw the terror melt out of him as something he read there absorbed his interest. He bent lower, assuming the position of someone engrossed in something with a maddening, single-minded focus Lou wished she could have right now. Lou's perspective was shattered. She was terrified. She was a bug, and she'd just learned how very big and very crowded the world was. "This is... You've got to be kidding me!" Dr. Beecham let loose a cackle at his station, muttering and poring over data. "Oh, shit, wow!" She got angry, watching the little pissant having fun. Angry at herself from hiding from all that new information he was reveling in. Enough, she told herself. She felt the familiar burn of shame and pride on spin cycle deep in her guts, like she had in boot camp and before her first solo desert patrol, and she dug into it. She slammed the side of her fist onto her display to wake it from sleep and roughly called up the grid of external cameras. "Take it in small bites, Montaigne." The biggest object caught her attention first. A big white and silver ship. She laughed for just 1 second, a hysterical laugh she quickly buried. Big didn't cover it. The made thing out there looked for all the world like an elegantly carved curio or pendant, like some beautiful, one-of-a-kind artwork she could hold in her hand, save for the superimposed data the computers provided. The thing was kilometers wide and tens of kilometers long. It was incredible engineering. Beautiful. Impossible. One bite at a time, she reminded herself. She shook her head and cycled to another camera feed, the ruined thing near them, and just beyond it, a ship that looked like it was still in operation. Those two were very close by, frozen in the moments before more of the ruined hulk's debris slammed into the ship. Several pieces had already been ripped off the hulk by some kind of shockwave. Whatever it was invisible, but she could see its effect on untold pieces of debris that hurled them at the ship nearby, still bright with running lights, glows from what looked like propulsion engines, and small explosions, where its skin had been penetrated just moments before, the moment she saw frozen on the screens. There was something almost familiar about that ship. She recognized lines, could imagine what the insides looked like. It had to be human, she knew instinctively. Or had once been human, she thought again, unable to account for the colors, shapes, and function of bulkheads or devices spread all across the vessel. Small bites. Lou ignored Beecham's manic bellow for Stan's assistance and looked to the cameras on the far end of 6. Spikes extended from something far below, reaching higher than Everest, higher than 10 Everests stacked on top of each other, yellow and gray and wrong. Lou shuddered. Spikes hungry to impale HHL-6. "Where?" Lou swallowed to get her throat working. "Where did you take us, Doctor?" Beecham's shoulders rose and fell. "Not a clue. Extrasolar, obviously. Looks like someone's spaceship junkyard." His eyes never stopped scanning his screens. Lou narrowed her eyes, drew a breath to yell for his complete attention when Rose spoke. Rose droned on automatic, providing information. Computers tracked 2,300 unique artificial constructs before running out of system resources. Spectral analysis indicates we are in vacuum. Object tracking data indicates we're in a low orbit around a high-gravity mass. We are exhibiting forward momentum." Her voice got very small. That's all I can—" Beecham kept his head down, frantically tapping and nodding his head. "Red sun, too." Burkov began to weep. Shaking, he released his straps and pushed himself towards the duty officer's cabin. "That's right," Lou remembered. "There are no portholes in there." She refocused. "Beecham, how are we seeing anything? It's your light show itself, isn't it? Rendering a view outside the force field on its inside?" "Close. Not bad, Ms. Commander," he said approvingly. "I had to create a second field to do it," Beecham crowed. "It's a lot smaller, almost touching the ship, in fact. It wasn't enough energy for another bigger bubble, but all the visible light outside at the moment I created the field was recorded and displayed on inside circumference. It's the world's biggest screen capture ever." Beecham turned to her and froze. "We can fly straight through the sun with this tech," he said in a hushed voice. If we survive this, Lou thought, great. Choosing another small bite, Lou leaned forward, highlighting the camera feed with the spiked planetoid and the sea of ships between it and them. She pushed it across to Beecham's terminal. "What am I looking at?" "An alien civilization, obviously," Beecham said, sounding mildly annoyed. That wasn't a small bite. Lou didn't know how to respond. "Navigation computers logged 3 planet, 8 moons so far," Beecham muttered, then raised his voice over his shoulder. "Stan, start poking your screen. This is the chance of a lifetime. And close your mouth, you're drawing flies." Lou heard Stan mutter something unintelligible. His fingers began patting his screens. Lou opened a comment channel. "CNC to Villanueva and Taggart." No response. This wasn't the first time they'd lost contact. The two men had traveled through whole tanks without radio communication up and running. They'd be back soon. Still, no second opinions for her. "Time to roll up your sleeves, Commander Montaigne." She laughed at her brain for pulling out another Ed Dwyerism. "Okay, what was likely to kill them first?" "We're in a gravity well, with forward momentum up and out," she began, summing up. She stared at the spikes of the planetoid. "Will our momentum pull us clear of whatever that is?" Beecham snorted. "Got no idea." Lou looked over to Okoro, who was staring at Lou's selected feed of the ships below them in the gravity well, her face a blank. The nav officer needed time, it seemed, just like Lou did. Beecham started cackling again. "Okay, other than getting pulled down, and that's a pretty big question mark for me, I'm pretty sure nothing else out there is going to kill us. No rads, minimal floating masses." His voice died away. Lou waited, seeing him working on something. She was impressed and grateful he'd been able to absorb their present realities so quickly. Huh. He stared at scrolling fields of numbers. Soup. "Come again, Doctor?" Lou asked. Beecham waved her off. "Tell you when I know." "Computer's got a match," Stan called out. Lou saw a red rectangle appear on her screen, offered from Rennick's terminal. She pulled it open and stared at a registry for a long decommissioned vessel. She pulled up another window showing the ship off HHL-6's bow, the one endangered by all the flying debris of the nearby hulk. Lou's eyes flicked between the two. The registry was for a corporately held ship, the Betty McKenna. The two ships had a similar profile. Lou caught it right away, even with the ship half turned away, despite extensive modifications. She could see the same underlying superstructure, the same 2 long bays along the bottom used by mining crews to haul large equipment and ore in and out on a regular rotation. She'd been a mining ship, all right. It was an ungodly old ship, though. It looked like something from the first wave of asteroid mining, what she could recognize of it. Parts of the hull were now metallic purple and green. And what was that covering the bottom of the ship? Something red and black. Many small somethings that looked almost organic. Her hindbrain wanted to say, Scales? The Betty McKenna, Rose called out, back in the game, owned and operated by Corona Mining Corporation, an asteroid mining craft rated for 2-year flights, carrying a crew of 30 souls. Reported lost? Rose gasped. Lou looked over, prompting her with her eyes to continue. Rose swallowed hard and met her commander's gaze. The Betty McKenna was reported lost more than 100 years ago. I remember that, Stan shouted. The Betty McKenna was due to be decommissioned, and Corona Corp used her for experiments with traveling... Lou finished Stan's sentence for him at the same time as Beecham did. Traveling faster than light. Farlost. Music by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. Learn more at servingworlds.com. Hi, this is John Miro. If you're enjoying Farlost, please consider visiting patreon.com, patreon.com/servingworlds, and lend your support. Be a patron of my fiction. Thank you.